This is Entertainment for Review, and we're going to be taking a look at another episode of The Big Bang Theory, and today's episode is Season 3, Episode 20, The Spaghetti Catalyst. This episode is only one episode removed from the breakup of Leonard and Penny, and is dealing with the fallout of that reaction largely from the perspective of Sheldon. We don't see the immediate fallout after their relationship, but this is a little bit after that initial shock has worn off. You get a reference from Sheldon that Leonard is having a hard time with the breakup when Sheldon is talking to Penny, something he wasn't supposed to tell Penny. This episode starts off with Sheldon running into Penny at the mailbox of the building, and he is worried that this will be an awkward encounter because Leonard and Penny's breakup, he is unsure of how to interact with Penny at this point. Penny, however, reassures Sheldon that they can still be friends and can act normally together. Sheldon is actually put a bit at ease by this because he doesn't want the time he put into making Penny part of his life to go to waste. They talk as they head up the stairs to the apartment, and this is where Sheldon reveals the information to Penny that Leonard did not want her to know about how upset he is. When they reach the top of the stairs, Sheldon notices that Penny has a pasta sauce that his mother used, and Penny says that she should have him over for pasta for dinner sometime, and Sheldon says that he's hungry right now. And Penny tells him he can come over in about an hour. He then asks her if she can cut up hot dogs and put those in it too for what his mother calls a real Italian treat.
You're in for what my mother calls a real Italian treat.
Penny says that she doesn't have any hot dogs, but Sheldon says that he does and he'll bring them with him. When Sheldon enters his apartment, Leonard, Howard, and Raj are already preparing to eat dinner. Sheldon says that he was talking to Penny, and Howard says that that's not cool, and he needs to be loyal to Leonard and pick a side in Team Leonard or Team Penny, basically using the bros before hoes motto. Leonard tells Sheldon that he got him food, and not wanting to upset Leonard by telling him about his plans to have dinner with Penny, he eats the food with them. Leonard is trying to find something to do and asks the others if they have plans. Howard has to go pick up his mother. How he's going to do that on his moped, nobody knows. Raj is free, but a little offended that now that Leonard is suddenly single, he wants to hang out with him again. And Raj does have a very valid complaint here, because as soon as Leonard and Howard did have girlfriends, they did begin to ignore Raj quite a bit. But when Leonard says he'll just hang out by himself tonight, Raj says, "Oh, what, I'm not good enough for you now?" After eating, Sheldon excuses himself to get a drink and to sneak the hot dogs into his pants, and he says he is going to excuse himself for an after-dinner walk. Everybody's a little confused by this, because that's not something that Sheldon normally does. He says he's heading out too to get his mother, and says that they should walk down together. Sheldon tries to find an excuse not to do this, but cannot, because now he has to go all the way downstairs and outside rather than just walking across the hall. He ends up having to go all the way downstairs and outside with Howard until Howard gets on his moped and rides away. And on his way back to the building, he comes face to face with a large dog who smells the hot dogs in his pants. Sheldon runs away and the dog gives chase, and Sheldon manages to eventually escape the dog and make it to Penny's door, but only with one surviving hot dog. Leonard and Raj are hanging out in the apartment watching a movie, and Raj has a disturbing line of questions, which leads to the theory that Raj really just needs a girlfriend at this point. Sheldon is enjoying his meal with Penny, although he is clearly not hungry and forcing himself to eat. Penny asks if Leonard was okay with him coming over, and Sheldon lies, saying he was fine with it, and in doing so reveals something that Leonard didn't want Penny to know, and that's that he had been crying. When Sheldon gets back to the apartment, they ask why his walk was so long. Sheldon is trying to think of a lie for this, and he can't really keep a story straight and keeps changing his story as he progresses and eventually just leaves the room. Later that night, feeling guilty about seeing Penny without Leonard knowing about it, Sheldon wakes up Leonard to talk to him. He gives him a bit of a panic when he says, "I've been seeing Penny behind your back."
I've been seeing Penny behind your back.
But when he clarifies, Leonard confirms that it is okay with him if he continues his friendship with Penny. Then do finally, for the first time in this episode since their breakup, get a face-to-face with Leonard and Penny for the first time when they run into each other in the laundry room. Penny goes to leave, but Leonard says it's okay and they just have to get used to seeing each other, but they both agree that it's still very awkward, as I imagine living in the same apartment building as one of your exes would be. We then do get into one of the weirder dynamics of this episode, and that's the dynamic in which Leonard and Penny begin acting as though they are divorced parents and Sheldon is their child that they are sharing custody of and dividing up responsibilities that they need to accomplish for him. Penny mentions that Sheldon's going to be going with her to Disneyland with some friends after he overheard her on the phone, and Leonard gives her some very specific instructions, including things like stay away from Goofy and don't want to ride too soon after eating a churro. Later, Leonard, Howard, and Raj are playing a board game called Talisman in the apartment. It's not the first time we've seen them playing this game. And Penny and Sheldon return from their trip to Disney World, and Leonard is upset about how late it is and the fact that Penny didn't call him. And this weird dynamic continues as they bicker back and forth a little bit about it, and Leonard says that he had prepared dinner, and they eventually send Sheldon off to bed, and he tells them not to fight. Leonard then invites Penny to stay for a cup of coffee, which she reluctantly does, revealing that Leonard was right about certain things, like the fact that she now has churro vomit on her shoes. Howard and Raj kind of save this scene because they're the only two who seem to notice how weird this whole situation is.
Yeah, the whole thing seems a little twisted to me, too.
And we end this episode with Leonard and Penny looking in on Sheldon as he sleeps. As Penny notes that she thinks they can successfully remain friends, Leonard jokes that they could be friends with benefits, which Penny takes as her cue to leave. And we see why Sheldon should not go near Goofy, as he is apparently having a nightmare about Goofy. And that's how we end The Big Bang Theory Season 3, Episode 20, The Spaghetti Catalyst. This episode leaves a bit of a gap in my mind, as you think they would want to capture a little bit more of the fallout of Leonard and Penny's immediate breakup, and we did, and more from the perspective of both Leonard and Penny. But instead, we kind of skip over that with this episode and and fill in some minor details and focus on how this will all affect Sheldon. And the whole dynamic between the three of them at the end of this episode is quite weird, to say the least. Given that this episode does miss an opportunity, I still like what it does accomplish and shows that Sheldon is thinking about his friends and their feelings, notably Leonard. He messes up a few times, but he is trying. And he does struggle with how to deal with these two people he is friends with after their breakup. Penny seems more guilty than sad about the breakup, and Leonard seems upset, but we miss the bulk of that and are seeing him on the decline of his grief. After 2 seasons of build-up and 1 season of dating, I think their breakup should have been a bigger deal. Which is why, although this is a decent episode, I score it at a 7.8 out of 10. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Do you think they should have gone into more detail about Leonard and Penny's breakup? Please be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and please keep an eye out for my next video coming soon.